All right, we're back. I had that Doug Allen presentation deserved its own video, so I gave it its own video. I mean, it was powerful information that nobody will hear except 5 of us. But at least at least somebody paying attention. There's at least a couple of us paying attention, and maybe a few people will see it. But yeah, that red line, and I've been saying it right along. What a pork barrel waste. Okay, what's next?
Thank you, Doug, for your comments. I'll look forward to reading your letter. I don't think we have that one yet, but I will make sure we.
Yeah, you should be off the board. Why are you still there? Because you're hacks. That's why.
Get that to everybody. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, my
ass. Jeff, you want to go to the next speaker?
Okay, we do not have any other hands raised at this time.
No speakers?
So I'll just remind people you can find that inside your participant panel in the WebEx window. There's a little hand icon, or if you're on a phone only, you can dial *3.
Thank you. We'll wait for a little bit here.
I would go into the meeting, but I really don't have standing to talk to these people. I'm not a rider. I'm not a driver. They have been paying my pension without any interruptions. I don't really have any. I have a lot of complaints, but I have no standing to make complaints to them. I'm not part of their little network anymore. So I'm not going to talk about those things because it doesn't affect me. I'm just an observer.
See if anybody raises their hand. I know this format does inhibit sometimes the ability to participate in this, but thank you for your patience.
The COVID world order.
Participate. It is appreciated.
Yeah, nobody's talking. Well, nobody wants to waste their time. I mean, that red line project has been approved, stamp approved. It's not going to change. You can talk until you're blue in the face, and it won't change anything. We know that. We've known that for a long time. Your testimony doesn't mean anything, and nobody gets to see it. So you're just basically talking in the wind.
I'm not seeing any others on my screen, Jeff.
Okay, move along.
No others yet.
What about I thought the TRIMET people were supposed to do something here. I guess not. You got a bunch of letters, is all it was. They should have talked, man. It's not that hard to do.
Mr. General Manager, I will still ask you at the end of this to give us a quick kind of update of the schedule of where you are in negotiations, if that's okay.
Yeah, we want to hear that.
Happy to do so. I can include that in the general manager report to start off with, if that works for you.
General manager's report is important. Always watch the general manager's report.
All right, I'm still seeing none.
Okay.
Unless you have something, Jeff, I'm going to close the public forum.
No hands have gone up.
All right. Well, with that, I'm going to close the public forum and move right into our regular agenda. So what I'm going
to, they don't advertise these meetings anywhere. People don't know that. You have to know the meeting is going on. They don't put it on their Twitter. They don't put it on their Facebook. TRIMET operates basically in secret, even though you can find out the information. But they don't make any effort to get people to know what's going on at all. And that was one of the conclusions of the Secretary of State phony report back whenever that was, who said their lack of transparency. So they did the Transparency Center. But they don't tell anybody the Transparency Center is there. So if you don't know it's there, you don't know it's there.
What to do is call the regular meeting agenda for September 23rd, 2020 to order. And the first items on the agenda, I'm trying to get back to my agenda here, is the board reports. Oh, here we go. Got to write it right up. If you go to the next page, right, the first item is the board reports, and so I'm going to ask Director Baumann to give us a quick report on the Committee on Accessible Transportation.
Yes, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So the CAT has switched over to monthly meetings. They hold short monthly meetings instead of meeting every other month. So here's a quick report on the most recent meeting. It took place last week on September 16th. Sam Dessou, the TriMet Chief Operating Officer, attended And he provided several updates, including on completion of the Steel Bridge project and the change to the collection of cash fares beginning October 1st. He also importantly thanked TriMet Lift and First Transit staff for their work during the wildfires. And I'm sure we'll be hearing more about this, but staff significantly transported vulnerable individuals who were subject to evacuation orders in Clackamas County. And so we want to recognize their efforts. Marla Blagg, the Executive Director of Safety and Security, discussed ongoing initiatives around safety and policing. Transit Police Lieutenant Brett Laser, he described some preparations and planning for changes when Portland Police Bureau stops participating in the transit police. And finally, there was a report on Lyft operations. And they included that Lyft ridership dropped by an additional 10% during the recent air quality emergency.
10%?
The ridership
Did you say 10%?
That took place, that have taken place during the pandemic. And that is the report.
Well, that reduction in ridership is amazing.
What's he say?
That's got to put some people in, people are not making it to some of the required medical trips and other things, it sounds like to me. Was that discussed in the committee, Lori?
Well, certainly the ongoing reductions in Lyft ridership generally, but at the start of the pandemic, there was a tremendous drop. I think it was on the order of 80% in ridership. But the good news is, and we've reported this in the past, that that Lyft took on delivering groceries to. They
did it for what?
So
a week? 2 weeks?
For grocery
that
shopping.
was.
So that, as
let's get the record straight. That just went on for a short period of time. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know it wasn't more than a month.
But that's still continuing. And that's
no, it's not. It is not.
Use of those resources.
No, they're not. They are not still continuing.
So that indicates
they're not
still doing it. So
they're not continuing to deliver meals, as far as I know. I'm going to Google that here.
Is there any questions by the board members for Director Baumann? I'm not seeing any hands raised, so I think you've completed your report. Thank you, Director Baumann. I'll move on then to the Finance and Audit
still
Committee.
Going on? Maybe I'm wrong.
Director Stovall, we just had that meeting this morning.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we had 4 key issues on the Finance and Audit Committee report this morning, and the very first issue is the Moss Adams fiscal year 2020 audit report, which the board will be receiving this morning also under the general manager's comments, and so I'll hold off on that until that point, so they'll give us their full report of what we heard.
Wait a minute, hold
kind
on.
of the preview.
Hold on, let me see this. So I'm wrong on this one. I thought I heard somewhere that this was a temporary thing. I mean, I know. Let me see. Yes, we saw the video, blah, blah, blah. Starting April 20th. So is it still going on or not? I guess it sounds like it is. Oh, here, wait. TRIMET 57-day service, temporary working meals on. Oh, fuck your ads, man. Jesus. You force me to watch I don't look at your ads anyway. Okay. This blah, 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 blah. Okay. Jerry, blah, blah, let me see. As an agency, we pride ourselves on providing excellent customer service, says His Highness Doug Kelsey. Okay. I don't know. I guess I'm wrong. Maybe they're still doing it. Okay. I can't find anything saying they're not, so I'll say that.
So that the Finance and Audit Committee can do their lean into that conversation as usual. The next item is the payroll tax update, and that will be coming ultimately up also for additional information for the board, kind of looking at the additional look at what the payroll tax will bring in the future, and ensuring that we keep on pace to ensure that our revenues are exactly where we need them to be to support our ridership within the region. Next up was the TRIMET grant applications. Of course, we do grant applications every year for various things, and so we got just a quick review of the grant applications that we're looking at this year, just as a kind of an informational item. Lastly, we covered kind of the updated schedule and some of the cost estimates for the Southwest Corridor line, and got an update there. I wouldn't say that there were too many things that have adjusted or changed over the course of the last few months. Of course, there's always potentially going to be some cost pressures on the upside, and they're based on COVID and some of the situations that we have there. There are some issues that has pushed part of the schedule out just a little ways. We still are going to have information, as we need it to keep on track, but we were looking for a cost estimate, kind of an ongoing cost estimate update back in July, and we won't receive that until...
Obviously, this should be discontinued, but it won't be. They've already spent probably, who knows how much, $400 million on it out of the payroll tax. And they're pinning their hopes on a referendum. Who knows? You know how easily voters are fooled to vote for things that don't help them. We see it play out everywhere. So I think they have a better than 50-50 chance of actually getting the money from the voters.
Till probably, I think, the next week. So just a little bit of the shift, but that is certainly understandable based on kind of where we are in the whole COVID situation.
I mean, I can't imagine anybody voting yes on a tax increase in this economic environment, but I hate to keep saying it. Americans are a dumb population, man. They're easily fooled. And you see that play out everywhere on all levels of the political spectrum.
So those were the 4 key items we covered in the Finance and Audit Committee this morning. Again, the Moss Adams report will be shared in its entirity
Moss Adams.
During the general manager's comments. Any questions about Finance and Audit?
That should
both,
be good.
President Warner and Director Simmons are also
members Moss
of
Adams.
That, so if I missed anything,
really
please feel free to add.
I think you did a great job, Director Stovall, but I bet there might be some questions by the board or comments. I'm seeing none. I guess I wanted to point out, I think Dee, our finance administrator, also indicated that the rating agencies have again affirmed our exceptional bond rating, which is really good, especially if we get into having to finance and deal with the Southwest Corridor project after the voters approve it in November. All right. Anything else?
Good point.
Anything else, Director Stovall?
Nope. That's it for me.
All right. Well, let's move on then to the Metro Policy Advisory Committee, MPAC as we call it. Director Way.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. I don't believe there was a meeting that happened on September 9th, and if there was, I wasn't able to attend. We live in Clackamas County, and I believe that was the week that lots of families, some neighbors, friends that I know of, were getting evacuated. So please continue to support our county, as well as so many other counties that have been affected directly by the wildfires. There is an MPAC meeting that is happening today, the 23rd from 5 to 7, and I do plan on attending that one, and it's a virtual meeting. So I will have it, I will have an MPAC update for the October meeting.
All right, thank you. And I hope your friends and family are back into their homes now.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, let's move on then to the Transit Equity Advisory Committee, TAC as we call it. Director Gonzalez.
The Wasteful Committee. Wake up, Ozzy. Wake up!
I thought I saw him.
Ozzy does other work. He's not paying attention.
Director Gonzalez, are you ready to provide us a report on the TAC committee?
Look at Warner's face.
We're not hearing you.
Okay, move along. Forget about Ozzy. He's asleep. He's doing other work.
His mic is unmuted, so it could be an issue with the input source.
Well, move along. Go back to him later. Jesus, keep moving.
Is that working? Can you hear me now?
Oh, there's that goddamn Ozzy boy.
We got you. We can hear you now.
Yeah, I had to change my input source. Oddly enough, the mic wasn't operating.
Let's get a picture of Ozzy.
Well, we did meet in September. We had an opportunity to go into an update from the focus group process with the Public Safety Committee and DHM Research.
DHM, always DHM.
For the community engagement process.
DHM does every single survey for every single business, every single government entity in the Portland area.
As
they get the point.
The committee is being formed, what used to be called the Blue Ribbon Committee. It's a public safety, I believe it's called a Public Safety Committee. I'm not sure. I know our general manager, Doug Kelsey, will be speaking on this because it's a very active process now. During the TAC meeting, it was mostly an update about the community engagement process. TAC had an opportunity to provide their own input on reimagining public safety efforts, and some of the great insight that came out through the meeting was the importance of having those key constituent groups provide some input at this early stage with regards to the formation of the body and potentially having some ongoing presence. But that includes low-income fare participants, Writers Club, as well as TAC and CAT, the Committee on Accessible Transportation, pardon me. So those are opportunities for continuing to provide further feedback. It was interesting to have in the report some of the themes that started to come out from the feedback that was already coming through in the community engagement process. That was a really spirited conversation. TAC provided some really wonderful feedback, and it's going to be a conversation that will be evolving here very quickly. In October, I believe the meetings are beginning, and I won't steal Doug's thunder and any further updates around that. And frankly, that's about the edge of my knowledge with regards to it. It was a really, really interesting conversation, and there's a lot of interest in exactly what sort of outcomes we should be expecting out of this process.
Well, thank you.
That meant nothing.
Questions or comments by the board for Director Gonzalez?
You said nothing, pretty much.
I see Director Wade. You have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I'm trying to still figure out the whole raising the hand feature, but Dr. Gonzalez, thank you so much for the report. I'm just curious if you're hearing from community members around the timeline piece. I know that this is a project that is taking off, which is really exciting. I'm just curious if you're hearing any feedback or concerns around timeline being short or long, or does it feel just right for community members to give their input?
Interesting. Frankly, I did not hear much about the timeline itself, since this is a process that's beginning. I think most of the interest was around clarity about what to expect from the process. I think there was an interest in getting the process began right away. As far as timing, that was my sense. Really a lot was about a clear understanding that some change was needed, and a clear understanding that the funding that was allocated, the $1.8 million that was allocated towards this, is to shift priorities, but it doesn't mean it's not the whole investment, so to speak. It's really the initial process of an investment. So there was a lot of interest about what what that initial investment really meant, as far as how
Doesn't
it would
mean
impact
anything is what it means.
the bigger pool of resources.
Thank you.
Move
And you
along.
got the hand raising down, Director Way. You got to figure out. Oh, there it is. Yep, good. You got it. You got it figured out. Other questions for Director Gonzalez? I'm not seeing any more. So then I'll move on to the final board report, which is mine, which is about the general manager's performance evaluation.
Oh!
And this is a little bit unusual because...
And you know, there's never been a bad general manager's performance evaluation. Never. Never, never, never. It's always been spectacular. Let's hear it. It makes you sick.
The board report, we usually don't have action items, but this is an item after I'm done and the board discusses it. I hope we can have a motion to approve the general manager's performance evaluation and my recommendations in terms of changes, adjustments that we need to look at for the next few months before his contract expires next year. So very quickly, for anybody listening, the document is online, so you can go on and look
so
at
no wonder they don't put this up.
This evaluation. This is a performance evaluation for the period between July 1st, 2019 and August 31st, 2020. And again, COVID got in the way of kind of getting all of this done by the end of the fiscal year, which is usually what we like to do. But this is an opportunity for the board to review the performance of the general manager. First thing we do is we really gauge his performance based on his ability and completion of a work plan that we, the board and general manager, agreed to a little over a year ago, which puts forward the major policy issues and objectives that we think are important for the agency. And we are going to be working on a new one for after we're done with this review to gauge its performance in the next year. But what I wanted everybody to know, anybody that looks at this review will find out that overall,
where is it?
I think the board believes that Doug's performance as a general manager for TRIMET continues to be impressive.
Yeah.
And overall, Doug has met or exceeded the board's expectations for most of the major business objectives and deliverables on that
As
plan.
I said, there's never been a bad report.
And what
ever.
I think you just cannot state enough is
I've been watching this stuff 15, 20 years now. There's never been a bad general manager report. Never. They've always given them raises and glowing marks. So there's no credibility at all.
Doug's leadership, TRIMET has made significant progress in a number of areas.
Like what?
I would just very quickly run through in terms of on our safety, security, and equity programs. Doug and his staff did a great job of stepping up to look at how to reimagine our transit safety and security and equity programs. That effort is underway, and we hope to hear from that about the end of the year, where we ought to look at changing our programs to again address some of the concerns that are out there in the community, but also ensure our systems are safe and secure. I want to compliment Doug and his staff's performance in the areas of decriminalizing fare evasion, violations, reductions in fines.
That's not what happened, Bruce. Why do they lie? What kind of stupid question is that? Okay. Let's get this straight, people. It's only decriminalized if you take care of if you so-called resolve your TRIMET citation within 90 days, and they give you some reasonable alternatives, okay? Which is good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's good. But if you don't do that, it reverts back to the court, okay? And so it's not decriminalized completely. It's only decriminalized if you take care of it within 90 days. And I still am an avid supporter of fare free transit to get rid of all of this, but Doug is a neoliberal technocrat, and so is his board, so that will never happen in Portland or anywhere else probably.
And options other than fine payments, and again, reduction of the use of armed transit police to perform fare inspections. So there's a lot done, and we expect more done as this review continues on. I would point out that we also believe Doug has done a good job of continuing to work on the customer experience and increase ridership. I think COVID got in the way of the ridership expansions that we were seeing, unlike many of the other agencies throughout the United States. We just want to note that Doug and his staff have been doing a lot to improve service, like the Division Street Transit Project, the Southwest Corridor, the Red Line you heard a little bit about, and maybe we can get an update on that a bit later. And then I would also point out that Doug has done a lot to improve our internal business practices. And this gets back to things like, again, just on-time performance of the system, measuring it. We've made great strides in those areas. I think Doug and his staff are to be congratulated on what I've always thought was a much less contentious contract negotiation with the Amalgamated Transit Union. I think we heard some concerns this morning, but I think that's probably where we are in the process, Doug. We're right. I believe we're in mediation, and soon we'll be in arbitration. Give us an update on that.
Yeah, arbitration is a horrible system they have here. It's just horrible. I mean, it's heavily weighted to management. I can't believe the union agreed to this.
But, the board does appreciate Doug's outreach and interaction with the ATU leadership.
That's not what I hear.
There will be some acrimony as negotiations move from the table to formally.
There doesn't have to be any acrimony. Why is there any acrimony at all? What is it the union's asking that's so fucking unreasonable? Nothing. They're fighting privatization of their work. Okay? You're not going to talk about that, are you, Bruce?
Arbitration, but I think this is an area where I know a couple board members would like us to continue to have a priority next year, Doug. So that'll be something we identify for the next fiscal year as well. I would also point out that in terms of just other things done, in terms of Doug's leadership, TRIMET continues to be a leader and it's just really outlined its continued commitment to diversity and equity. I look at the Division Street Transit Project, where we worked for a long time with a disadvantaged business enterprise, which is now Rainmore Construction, who was awarded the largest DBA contract in Oregon's history for the Division Street Transit Project. I also thought it was important to note Doug's ideas about how we could maybe look at rebuilding existing TriMet old buses from diesel to electric power, and I see our first prototype is rolling off, and we'll hear a little bit about that, I hope, in the next few months. And I just have to, in this document, we need to acknowledge the agency's response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the things that we've done. I think we addressed it head on, feel very good about this. So again, I think Doug's knowledge skills have just provided new ideas and changes that continue to verify our choice to appoint him as our general manager. And Doug, your ability to be flexible and adaptive to unforeseen events in the past 6 months have been exceptional. So I want to thank you for that. And then finally, I just want to say that I've been working with Doug, and I think the board and Doug feel that we should defer any general manager salary changes until next calendar year. Doug's contract does expire, I think, in the second quarter of next calendar year, so we could have an opportunity to address that. I think the board that I've talked with most of you, and everybody believes the general manager should be at the midpoint of the salary range, and we can address that when we get into the new employment contract.
So they're going to give him a raise.
But I did want to point out that during this process,
we've seen the budget. He's under his line item is $400,000. So they've already put $400,000 aside for him.
As I learned that the general manager's vacation accrual is less than that for those who report to him. So I think we need to adjust his vacation.
Oh, they're going to pull the old vacation. They're going to pull the old vacation routine. This is a well-known scam used by public transportation executive class. They give them vacation, and then when they leave, they cash out that vacation. It's a de facto raise dressed up as something else. This is a scam that's well known in this business by the people who follow it, which is like nobody, but I know what it is because I've seen them pull this in other places, and they pull it here too. So they give him more vacation, which he cashes out when he leaves. And he'll never think, he's just here. It's just a job to him. He doesn't give a shit about any of this.
Do it retroactively from the beginning of the contract. So that's what you see in this. I do want to point out that Linda Simmons and I collaborated on putting this review together, and I appreciate the comments and suggestions I got from all the board members on this. So
did you hear what he just said? Let me turn off that cheer. They're going to give him an increase in vacation retroactive. So they're pulling the old sneaky raise. Very underhanded, very, very evil. Nobody knows and nobody will know. And nobody's going to cover this except me. And I have no following.
What I want to do now is give each board member an opportunity to talk about the review and maybe talk about Doug's performance before. You
know why this has got no credibility at all? Not any credibility, because there's not one negative thing. There's not one negative thing. Can you imagine imagine you're a bus driver like we were, and they have a check ride. Imagine the check rider saying everything is great. It doesn't happen, does it? Only these executives get these perfect job reviews by these henchmen. These are people that are put into office specifically to support him. That's their job. They don't care about the public. They're there to support that general manager who reports to the elites of the Portland area. He keeps that pipeline of capital projects moving and keeps that money flowing to all these special interests. Not much different. It's not different at all from the military industrial complex, the police state industrial complex, or any other industrial complex that steals money from the taxpayers and funnels it into the pockets of the elites.
Ask for a motion to approve this. So if you want, I can just call on you, but if you want to just unmute yourselves and start talking, that's fine too.
Oh, let's hear the praise. Come on.
I'll go ahead and go first, if that's okay.
Okay.
So first and foremost, I support the evaluation and the findings and the recommendation of course, for the vacation days. I want to say it's, many times, as we do evaluations and we look at things, we sometimes tend to evaluate on kind of
we have to listen to him pontificating. He's the chief pontificator. He can just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. This guy just goes on and on and on.
The highest and best performance, and not always appreciate that when things run smooth, that's also the hallmark of a great manager and someone who's a great leader. And, we've got so many great things, from the audit to our performance on our state types of attitudinal reviews. All of those things really point towards an agency that's running well. And, one of the things that's impressed me thoroughly is that throughout this pandemic, and I know that's more so in this current fiscal year or this current calendar year, going through the pandemic, many times we, a lot of organizations, especially one of our size, can be slow to make the adjustments and the needed things to ensure both our operators and our teams are safe. We're responding to what the general public needs. And TRIMET, in my opinion, has been on top of the issues. We may not do all things perfectly, and that's the hallmark of working with an immense amount of number of writers and people and stakeholders to balance all of the things. And that's the true thing, is the balance. And many times we can say, well, it didn't go right in this exact area or solution or execution of this idea, but in the totality.
Shut up already!
I am very impressed with Doug's leadership and the team we have assembled to continue to execute on the items and things that we need to move forward and make sure we're getting done. So I absolutely support the evaluation and the recommendation.
Of course you do, you hack.
Thank you, Director Solo.
I'll follow Travis. This is
right.
Linda Simmons. I can't add very much to what Travis said other than to echo his sentiments. An organization as large and complex as TRIMET, it really bodes well at how well it functions, and in that is in direct result of the leadership that Doug provides. And
this makes great comedy. It's almost at the same level as Trump comedy. Okay, it's like it doesn't quite meet the. I mean, he is the standard for comic performances of a public official. Nobody has ever come close to the Trump standard of comedian. You know, the most ridiculous things come out of his mouth. But they're close. They're pretty close, okay? This glowing. He's perfect. We love you, Dougie. You're the best leader in the world, Dougie.
I'm always in awe of the number of initiatives and how responsive the agency is to unanticipated issues that present itself. So kudos to you, Doug, and the rest of the team.
Yeah, Dougie, baby.
I won't take any more time, but
You
Travis
hack.
really covered it all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up.
I see Keith Edwards has raised his hand dutifully, so I'm going to let him go next.
Where is he?
Thank you very much, Bruce. I appreciate that. I would agree that the overall report is stellar. I think Doug has done a really good job in the business sense of keeping our organization above water and floating in a responsible way. I think that the like I say, the business side of it has gone very well, and it looks very good going forward, and that's in no small way. In no small way does that speak to what Doug has done, especially during this pandemic and all the things that go along with it. There's when you think of the pandemic, you think of just the overall effect of what happened with the folks that are impacted by it, by having to wear masks and having the spacing and all of that. But there's other nuances that really that have to be considered as well. And I think Doug has done a very good job in managing that and managing in a respectful way. I do have some concerns though in regards to one of my major issues is the relationship between ATU and TRIMET management, the labor management relationship. That concerns me greatly. I do know.
Did you hear this? Keith Edwards actually is taking a contrary point of view here, folks. I always liked this guy. He always seemed to be somewhat of a contrarian. You know, he's not just going along with the club. Let's hear what he says here. He's right, because there is acrimony there. There's not. They don't get along. So it's, these directors are ignoring that. They're pulling the Trump method. Only talk about things you want to talk about and ignore everything else. That's what Trump does. That's what they do. That's what they all do. But he's taking a contrarian point of view here.
That the apprenticeship was a very contentious issue.
Yes.
That was an issue that was very
and it should be, because what he wants to do is provide profit to the privateers. Every job he takes out of the union, he's destroying. He's the neoliberal fascist. Put a profit motive on everything. That is one of the most evil. That's the thing that's ruining our country, right there.
Near and dear to ATU.
Yes.
And
he shouldn't be doing it.
I think TriMet approached it strictly from a business sense,
right,
and not from a sense of consideration of moving forward. There was an option to at least offer to the ATU to pay for half of it, and that option wasn't even presented to the labor side. I think that there's been an effort to work and try to have focus groups in between labor and management to try to build a relationship that's a working relationship that's not so less contentious.
No, there is not.
And certainly less adversarial. But I think that in doing that, there has to be some kind of work together. The Coraggio group, I looked at them online. The Coraggio group, their strength is not building relationships between labor and management.
Whoa.
That's not what they do. And so I would think that going forward, there'd be a meeting of the minds with ATU and say, let's look at this together. Let's see if we can find a group we can both agree on that can help build our relationships going down the road. And that's not going to happen in a year. It's not going to happen in 2 years. It's going to take, some time to make that happen. But as a board member, it's my responsibility to make sure that the public is their concerns are being met as well. And I think the public is more concerned about having good relationships between labor and management that aren't costing the public more money, and making sure that that everyone is getting along and working well together. The social environment, I think, needs to be worked on as well. But we'll talk about that, at a future date. But overall, like I say, I do agree that.
Well, good for you, Mr. Edwards. My hat's off to you, sir. You've actually spoke some truth here, which is highly unusual to hear. Okay, this is very unusual. And maybe Governor Brown will kick him off the board for this because she's a hack.
Doug has done a very good job. And as Lori said, as Linda said, there's so many moving parts, that you have to take into consideration. And that's very challenging. Who are they? Because at the end of the day, you have to make sure that TRIMET is a functioning entity Adidas, that works well and has built for the future. So everybody uses when pandemics come along or other unforeseen challenges come along, that TRIMET will be able to withstand those challenges. And so I think, like I say, General Manager has done a great job. But at the same time, there are a couple of areas that need that need more attention and more focus because they are just as important as the business side of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's good for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Edwards. And for the rest of the board, you should know that Director Edwards and I have chatted about this a bit, and I think this is a great opportunity to get some things into next year's work program to address the work that you started, Doug. This year, but again, continue to work on improving ATU and management relationships. And then in terms of just, I think the other issue that you mentioned, Director Edwards, is the kind of the cultural competency and implicit bias. I think you want to make sure we're best we can be, and I think you're right in both of those areas. That this is a journey, and I think this is a good one to get on our next year's work program. So after we're done.
Do you have any idea how long this anti-ATU 757 management's been going on? Since the day McFarland took over, which was 2011, I think. I mean, this has been going on a decade now. Almost a decade, this union-busting attitude. McFarland was the worst. He was the worst. And from what I've heard from people, I don't know that many people working there anymore. I know a few. Kelsey is just as bad. I mean, he's been riding those employees as hard or harder than McFarland did.
With this performance evaluation for this year, I want to come back with a document, and with some help from you, Director Edwards, we can come up with a plan and program that helps us move forward in all those areas.
Good.
Other board members? Oh, you bet. Director Baumann, do you have any comments?
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
I just real briefly want to state my strong support for the performance evaluation and recommendations, and echo my support for Bruce's comments and Travis's. And I also wanted to kind of call out some of the challenges we're having right now with the COVID and then the recent wildfire issues that have really tested so many of our institutions and businesses. And I've just really appreciated that Doug has been very thoughtful and acting quickly, but not precipitously in response, but really with the focus on safety, operator and customer safety, retaining public confidence in public transportation.
Yeah, right.
And preserving the financial viability of the organization.
Bauman is particularly evil. I really hate her, man. I don't like her at all. I wish they'd dump her off of there.
So those, I think that what we've seen over the past few months has really been a good indication of the quality of leadership that Doug has provided. That's it.
Thank you. Director Way, I see you have your hand raised. Thank you.
What?
Yes. Great. Thank you. Yeah, I just want to echo what Director Edwards has also said around the labor relationships.
Up,
I feel
Kathy?
like
we had high hopes for you, Kathy, and you bombed on us, man. I really thought you were going to be something good, and boy, you didn't take you long to disappoint me.
Protecting our workforce, making sure that they feel heard, making sure that these relationships get stronger over time are definite priorities for me as a board member that I take into consideration. And with the recent wildfires, it's no exception. I saw some of the comments that were submitted around our bus operators literally rescuing people from the wildfires, and they themselves not having perhaps the proper equipment or the proper protection. And that really, I feel, speaks a lot to the continued work, and some struggles that we have to continue to do as a board and as a leadership. And I think overall Doug has done a great job this year, given managing a pandemic, managing all of the organized efforts around George Floyd. I felt like Doug has had to be really flexible and also, I think, pretty responsive to what some of the community demands were, particularly around policing and transit safety. So I do appreciate...
He hasn't done anything around that, okay? He took $1.8 million out of one budget, and he's going to hire his blue ribbon committee of cronies to fucking give you some use. He hasn't done anything on it. It's all talk.
His ability to pivot and to put in the required resources, and equity team, John's work, and really, I think, trying to navigate those conversations. So kudos to Doug.
No, fuck you,
and
Doug.
I agree. I think that right now in this, just in 2020 in general, all of our leaders are just feeling really stretched in their capacity. Doug, I'm
no, they're not. He's at home, sitting at home. All you people are sitting at home. You don't have any idea what's going on in bus driver world because you're all sitting at home. Okay, you don't represent any actual people. Okay, and we know that.
Sure is no exception. So I also would support him taking some time off. So that
he's not going to take the time off. He's going to cash it out at the end of his, just like they all do. Like I just told you, this is a sneaky way to give somebody a raise without saying we're giving you a raise, and it's fake. They're liars, man.
Ground himself, center himself in this work, and I think my just last closing comment would be just around, the type of agency that TRIMET wants to become 10, 20 years from now.
Yeah,
and I believe that we need to continue to challenge each other around, old systems or old things that may have not worked equitably for all communities, and try to push us forward towards...
There is no such thing as equity in any part of the American life. None. There's no equity anywhere. Equity is a lie. Get that through your head. They talk about equity. It means nothing. Nothing. It's completely devoid of meaning. It's just something that's been inserted into the cultural language. There is no equity. There's never been any equity, and there never will be any equity. Don't be fooled.
What's going to help people people of Oregon 20, 30 years from now.
We'll all be dead by then.
So I think we have a great team, and thank
Kathy,
you
you already
again, Doug, for your
gave us your
leadership
spiel,
and
didn't you?
your flexibility during this year.
I thought you already gave us a spiel, didn't she?
Thank you, Director Way. I see Director Gonzalez has his hand up now.
Okay, we know how he's going to go.
Yes, I do, and I think the mic works.
It does.
Oh, good. So thank you for the opportunity to speak individually, Director Warner, or President Warner, pardon me. We all reviewed the evaluation. I'll start by saying I think the performance evaluation I think does represent the place where Doug's progress has been, and I think that the finding...
Wouldn't it be nice if his employees could give him an evaluation instead of appointed hacks? Why don't you ask your employees how they feel about it instead of you bunch of hacks appointed by a hack governor?
I support, while I do recognize they are, I think, more conservative than is representative of the challenges. And I'll put it this way, in one of the more challenging years, where clearly the agency has had to work the hardest, where I think the job has required, has demanded the most, it's unfortunate to have to say that we're deferring any sort of compensation. But I think that reflecting the interest in...
Wait, you didn't defer. You gave him more. You gave him a raise just now. You're going to give him an additional weeks. I don't know how many. They didn't tell us. Could be a month, 2 months. Who knows? Of vacation, which is the exact same thing as a raise because they cash it out later.
Adjusting the time off, that
He's not going to take it off. He's going to cash
an important message about the importance of balance and work life. And I echo Director Y's comments about the need to take some R&R time. And I say that because in overall the performance, it's what has been controllable from an operations standpoint. What we have been able to plan has by and large demonstrated very strong competencies in the ability to manage this large organization. The planned expansions, the procurement process for these planned expansions, the service expansions that stem from a multi-year strategic plan, I think have demonstrated the ability to really move the needle on some of these major projects. And you've done some very, very strong things. And with what is not controllable, COVID, the protests that had major disruptions to the city's function or the region's function, you've demonstrated great agility and the ability to be proactive. So I really commend you for being able to demonstrate
what exactly
what is
did
clear.
He do for the demonstrations? Nothing. I don't. What did he do? Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Clearly, in uncertain times, that tenacity to solve a problem, to get it right, to not just wait for the mandate to tell you exactly what to do, but to reach out into the industry and to find what else we might be able to do to position the agency to be a reliable resource for the public. So I think that that's really great. And on top of it all, at a time when we're seeing such disaccord and dysfunction, frankly, between agencies at multiple levels, from federal, state, municipal, regional, there's a lot of static. You've managed to maintain a regional agency functioning, and I'd say by and large kept it above the politics, frankly. I know that there's room for improvement, and to that end, I want to end by just acknowledging some of the places I see for areas where I think we can really dive in and strengthen. From my perspective, for what it's worth, I'd like to recommend that in trying to balance the safety and security need of the agency with promoting the responsible use of the system, and delivering it in a way that's equitable and inclusive to all peoples. This is a really tough balance to strike. So between serving the public, serving the employees, and serving the agency, I think it's serving the public that trumps all of the other priorities. It's why we as board members step forward in this light. And
well,
at the end of the day, it's what we need.
If that were true, they wouldn't have cut the bus service. Okay. And their excuses are not enough riders. Well, that's not a good excuse to cut bus service in the middle of the so-called pandemic. You should have increased the service. I mean, all your capital projects should have been, the funds should have been moved to keep operations going, but that's not what happened, is it? So he's lying.
Need the employees and the agency at large to really be able to focus around when it comes down to making those difficult decisions. It's about what is going to be able to serve the public interest best. And I think you do that well. And I think we can improve upon rallying the focus of all these other groups, constituent groups, around what is going to help the public the most, because these are some difficult moments where we're all making some versions of sacrifices. The other area is climate change. And I'll end on that. I see great progress and interest in pushing the needle, in being willing to challenge the marketplace, and I applaud you for that. But I think we need to keep seeking new partnerships. I believe that there's still fuel types out there that are going to be coming online, and I know they represent infrastructure investment, but I also believe that they represent opportunities for our region. So being a willing partner to explore those partnerships, I think it might be key. And with that, I'm going to stop. I really appreciate it. I support the findings, and thank you very much for serving the agency with such great competency.
Oh, that was painful, wasn't it? Oh, God.
Thank you, Drew. So, have I missed any of the board members?
Oh, thank God.
No, I don't think I have. So, thank you for those comments. And I think what I hear here are some good suggestions and things that we ought to make sure we incorporate in the general manager's objectives for fiscal year 2021. And I'll remind you that in the last draft that I sent out of this review to you, I did attach the draft of that. I've talked it over a bit, as I said, with Director Edwards, but I'd like you each to take a look at that, and Director Gonzalez, Director Way, incorporate some of your thoughts into what we might want to look at as a deliverable and an objective for next year. And I will call each of you just to talk with you a bit about this too, because I think all of these need some deliberations. So I think what I'm hearing this morning is, I think, Doug, everybody believes you are doing a great job as a general manager for TRIMET. And again, we're lucky to have you, and do appreciate your efforts and willingness to just put in the hours needed to do this work. And I think we do worry a little bit about your mental well-being, and I think vacation is a good time. Now that you've discovered the zen of fly fishing, I think hopefully you'll be able to do a bit more of that with some time off. But before I ask the board for a motion to approve this, do you have any comments for us, Doug?
Well, thank you. Overall, I mean, thank you for your support as individuals and helping guide me through.
All of these people, their job is to support this guy. They're not there for the public. They're there for him. You got to understand that. That's essential.
Probably, if someone said there was going to be 100 days of protests and something close to it and riots with the economy at a recessionary level and COVID, a pandemic going on, not separately, but all at the same time, I wouldn't have believed anybody. But let alone the fires. I forgot fires. So I'm waiting for famine and locusts to come. But I think collectively...
That was actually funny, Dougie. I'm waiting for famine. Oh, he's good.
I just need to thank the team I get to work with, and that's where it really starts. I'm just part of the orchestra at the end of the day, but there's a lot of amazingly gifted people, passionate people who care about this agency. And I, speaking to the board on this, but also to anybody who does pick this up at home, you know, we've all, as we get gray hair, we all had a chance to have different experiences in other places we've worked. And I can, in my heart and in my mind, easily say that the public needs to know just what a great privilege it is, and humbly, to work with the team inside TRIMET, who really comes to work every day with their work boots on, whether it be a bus operator or a cleaner, and whether it be our partners in the ATU. And I know there's differences there. That's not new. But yeah, we have work to do there. There's no question. In the spirit of good employees, and those employees are also union members in many cases. So we do have work to do there. But if I look at the overall of it, from the behind the scenes people to the front, it really is a privilege to serve, not to take. And I'm just honored, and thank you for your support.
Okay, Dougie B.
You're quite welcome.
All right, man.
Well, with that, unless there's any other questions, is what member of the board willing to proffer a motion to accept the performance evaluation for the general manager and approve the adjustments in the vacation leave?
Yep.
So moved.
Backhanded raise.
I hear a motion. Was that Travis?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Second,
Linda.
Second, Linda. Okay. All right. So we have a motion on the table.
Motion approved.
Is there any further comments by the board before I call for a vote?
They give him the backhanded raise.
Mr. Chairman, I have a further comment.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
I just wanted to say too that you know that
this is my new hero.
I think that all of us really appreciate the fact that we can talk to Doug, and he's open to listen and hear our issues and concerns. That's been really transformative, I think, for the TRIMET.
Well, of course I have to listen to you. You're the board.
And I don't know what it was like before I came on the board.
It's always
I do know that working with the general manager is not typical when you find certainly agencies as large as this. I've been on other boards, and I know that it's not always an open line of communication as it has been with Doug. So I just wanted to share that as well, and
it always has
put that on the record so folks understand that Doug doesn't come in with preconceived notions about anything. He comes in and he does listen. And
Doug was trained for 2 straight years by McFarland. McFarland picked Doug up. Doug had been fired from TransLink. So Dougie took him under his wing. Neil McFarland, and trained him for 2 years before letting him have his job, because McFarland had to go. He was a horrible general manager. Everybody hated his guts, the union, everybody. So he got his nice fat pension, $15,000 a month for life, and they put him in to take over. You know, how would you like a pension where you made like $200,000 a year just to stay home? That's what's wrong with this country, by the way.
He does.
The elites have stolen everything for themselves and their henchmen.
Take into consideration and with respect and value that the board has to share with him. So just wanted to share that.
Yeah. Big deal.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments?
All right, get the goddamn motion.
Then I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve the general manager's performance evaluation and the changes in vacation accrual,
they didn't tell you how
signify
much
by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
No, of course not.
Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much, board,
right,
for your comments of work helping put this together. And again, Doug, thank you very much for your performance and work as our general manager. It is greatly appreciated.
What happened here? All right, well, that's good enough for me, but you know, I've enjoyed watching the board meeting, so I'm going to keep watching it. It didn't piss me off too much. And we'll cut that. Over and out till next time.